All right, let's talk some Alabama recruiting coming off a big visit weekend in Tuscaloosa as the Tide took down the Volunteers and avenged last year's loss. Let's get into it. But first, Tide fans, hit that subscribe button to the On3 Recruits channel. We are growing this thing. We want you to be a part of it. Hit subscribe. Okay, let's bring on the great Andrew Bone from BamaOnline. Andrew, before we get on to what was on campus, let's talk about who was not on campus. That's five-star 2025 wide receiver commit Ryan Williams, who's back on the plains at Auburn. Now, afterward, he talked to Joseph Hastings. He's saying roll Tide. Do you take him at his word, or do his actions concern you?
Yeah, I don't think it's really much cause for a major concern just yet. This is a kid who has said multiple times that he was going to take visits during the season, including trips to Auburn. He visited Georgia. He's going to visit Texas. I think when he starts slowing down trips to Tuscaloosa, that's when you start being a little bit more concerned about Ryan. Now, he's been to 4 of Alabama's 5 home games this season. He's going to be back for the LSU game next weekend. So I think the more you see him in Tuscaloosa, the better. Obviously, obviously Auburn fans feel probably a little bit different. They probably feel pretty confident after he spent the weekend down on the plains this past weekend. From an Alabama perspective, I think they feel pretty confident and comfortable about where things stand in their pursuit with him and where things stand with as far as his commitment. And we did speak with Ryan on Sunday evening. Now, if he was on Flip Watch, I don't necessarily think he would talk to Joseph on Sunday night coming off that trip, but he got a chance to talk to him. He says he's 100%. He's still recruiting others to join him at Alabama. It's going to be something that we're obviously going to continue to monitor and watch. He says he's going to go back to Auburn for the Iron Bowl next month, and Auburn's going to continue to heavily recruit him. I mean, he's a big time player, and certainly a major target for several schools. But Auburn certainly feels like they have a strong chance to flip him there, and from an Auburn perspective, you should. He just spent the weekend on Auburn's campus. There's a lot of momentum there with some other recruits. They were able to flip Perry Thompson away from Alabama back during the summer. But as of right now, from an Alabama perspective, we still feel pretty confident that he's still is 100% committed to Alabama, because that's what he says. That's what we're kind of going by. So until he decides to reopen things or says that his commitment is soft or he's 60% or 70% committed, I think then you start to feel that Auburn's got a really strong chance to flip him.
All right, now let's get to the priority targets that were on campus. One of the most intriguing names to me was Stephen Mbomua. Now, he's originally from Cameroon, attending high school in Quebec City, Canada. He was at the Bama-Tennessee game, and it was his first college game he's ever attended. Andrew, how can you attend that game and not commit to Alabama afterwards? What did he say to you afterwards? Where does the Tide stand? What's going on here?
Yeah, I think he may have been pretty close to making that decision, but he held off. He wants to still take some visits. Never really, going to your first college football game. Now you're going to have a chance to go on your first official visit. So there's some other schools in it, like Florida, Mississippi State. I know Auburn and Georgia also trying to get him on campus for officials before he makes a decision during that early signing period. But this is a kid that has now visited Alabama twice, earned an offer during the summer, and now he has come back for an unofficial visit. Came down from Quebec City for just an unofficial visit this past weekend. Had a great time. Said he was in the end zone for Jahai Campbell's scoop and score for the touchdown. Said it was absolutely wild, and just really enjoyed that. Enjoyed being in the locker room after the game, and really just kind of seeing what a game day experience is like at a potential program that he may be at next year. So great visit. He's being recruited as a defensive lineman. Gotten a little bit bigger since the summer. I think this summer he was 3.5, 265 pounds. Now he's up to 274 pounds. I mean, some photos from
Big
the visit.
boy.
I mean, he looks really impressive. And, he's definitely a kid that Alabama has been prioritizing for a long time. Really since that summer camp experience. Says he talks to Freddie Roach, the defensive line coach, every week. Had a good FaceTime call with Coach Saban a couple of weeks ago, and then had an opportunity to spend some time with Coach Saban this past weekend. So great visit there with Steve, and he's become a fan favorite on the BamaOnline message board over the last several months, and definitely somebody that we're going to continue to talk about moving forward.
All right, great. Now, another priority target on campus was Daniel Hill. He's a power back, 4-star running back out of Mississippi, and has really been a long-time battle between South Carolina and Alabama. Yes, Tennessee is in there too. Volunteer fans, don't jump all over me for not mentioning, but really South Carolina, Alabama. Now, this was his 15th visit to Alabama. I'm not sure if they're charging him rent at this point. Maybe he has a timeshare in Tuscaloosa. But Andrew, do you think that right now this one is leaning Alabama coming off this most recent trip?
It seems to be trending that way. I think a lot of people are probably surprised he still has yet to make a decision. Now, he was actually supposed to commit back on August the 23rd. Now, that August 23rd date, he was leaning towards South Carolina. Now, he held off. We know that his family very pro Alabama throughout his recruiting process, and I don't necessarily think they're forcing him to go there, but I think they would like to see him a little bit closer to home. He hasn't been to South Carolina this season. Went to Tennessee for the official visit last month. He's been to Tuscaloosa 3 times already this season. He's expected to be back for the LSU game next week. Alabama doesn't have any running back commitments just yet, and he's been one of their top targets at the position for quite a while. So would not be surprised if we see him in Alabama's class eventually. Not ready to make a decision just yet. It looks like he's probably going to wait until after his senior season before making that commitment. But as of right now, I think Alabama's in a pretty good spot. But we'll see if he ends up making a few other trips, maybe gets back to South Carolina, or maybe it takes another trip up to Knoxville.
All right. Well, I like where Alabama stands right now. Let's move on to one of the top-rated safeties that is still left uncommitted, and that is 4-star safety Zay Mincy out of Daytona Beach, Mainland. He was in for an official visit this weekend. What's the latest intel coming out of that?
Yeah, you look at Alabama's defensive back class. They have 6 defensive back commitments right now. Outstanding group that they've been able to add, and a lot of people were wondering if Zay Mincy was even going to make a trip back to Tuscaloosa. He visited back during the summer for an unofficial visit, and Alabama's been on this kid for a long time. Now, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be tough to pull him out of Florida. He has a top 4 with Alabama, Florida, Florida State, Miami, and all we've heard for the last few months was it was going to be tough to pull him away from the Sunshine State. But he really likes Alabama a lot, and a lot of that has to do with his relationship with Travaris Robinson. Really likes that he would be able to work with Nick Saban in the defensive backfield if he decides to go there. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. I think that the visit went really well. Was able to get there on Friday. A lot of these official visits during the season are kind of tough because most of these kids aren't able to get on campus until Saturday. So they're on campus Saturday. There's a game. Coaches are kind of focused on that. And then you kind of get the chance to spend time with the coaching staff on Sunday. But he had a football game on Thursday night. So he spent all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Tuscaloosa with his mom and sister. It was a great visit. Alabama's going to continue to pursue there. And they, like I said, they really like him. Even though they have a deep defensive back class, they would certainly hold a spot for Zay Mincy if he wants to jump on board.
All right. Now, he's going to make his decision here in a couple months, like around December, I believe, in an all-star game. But the next target we're going to talk about is making a decision much sooner, and that is the number 4 rank edge in the 2025 class, Zion Grady. He was on campus this weekend in Tuscaloosa. He's an elite pass rusher from Troy, Alabama. Now, Grady came off the visit and told our guy, Joseph Hastings, that he's ready to commit to a school on November 12th. Who are the main players, and where does Alabama stand here?
Well, he released the top 10 after the summer after taking a lot of different visits.
Yeah, but you know how to read into those top 10.
Some of the top schools that are really in it: Alabama, Georgia, he grew up in Georgia. Yeah, he's a Georgia native. Been to Athens a few different times. Really likes the Bulldogs a lot. Has visited Tennessee, Florida State. Those are kind of the main contenders in his recruitment right now. He's coming off a second visit to Alabama this season. Was also in Tuscaloosa for the Texas game. Says that his mind is made up. Knows where he wants to go to college. He's going to be making that decision, I believe, on his birthday on November the 12th. I think we like Alabama's chances here. Alabama's off to a really hot start in the 2025 recruiting class, and we haven't really seen that kind of start with Alabama over the last few years. They usually have about 2 or 3 commitments heading into the spring. They currently have 7, could potentially have 8. 2025 commitments, come November the 12th. Maybe even more, if somebody were to pop potentially after that LSU weekend.
Yeah, maybe it's a sign of the times, but maybe, hey, Alabama's just switching up strategies a little bit. They usually close strong. Now they're starting early. Well, Andrew Bone, thank you for dropping by today on the Inside Scoop and sharing all this Alabama intel. We appreciate it.
All right, Josh. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.